Hello everyone, William here. It's the 1st of March and I'm going to show on the channel some cards that I got in the month of February. And I'm going to be changing the way I collect certain cards, but I'll talk about that in a second. So a few days ago was Pokemon Day and we had the announcement of the newest game, Pokemon Win and Waves. Or is it Waves and Win? I can't exactly remember, but I'm surprised the game's not out until 2027. But that does give me some time to upgrade my Switch because I still have the original. I'm not, I didn't rush out to buy a Switch 2 just because there wasn't really anything on it I wanted to play. But I might get one for the newest game for Gen 10. This is Legend ZA. Since this is backwards compatible on the original Switch, I just got it for the Switch rather than getting the Switch 2. One of the surprising things to me is that the 30th anniversary set is going to have a global release, which to me, I think that's only going to be for that set alone and not for every set going forward. Anyway, that's enough rambling and I'm going to get on to some cards that I got a few weeks ago. And the first is Rosa's Encouragement, her SAR. And as I was saying, I'm changing my strategy to buying cards because I feel that since so many cards are being graded, I want to try and buy cards maybe a month or two after the release because I find anything like a Japanese SAR, so many cards are graded that if I was to try and wait a year, there are not going to be many clean copies available. They'll all be graded, and I'd rather buy a raw copy than have to buy a 9, since I find PSA 10s and even Ace 10s tend to be overpriced. Let's get a closer look at this card. From the pictures, it looked pretty clean. At first, I thought what Rosa is eating is the Castelia cone. I think that's what the item's called, which heals about. Pretty sure it heals 100 HP from a Pokemon. But I checked on Bulbapedia and it's not a Castelia cone, it's just normal ice cream. The Castelia cone is more blue and white. The balloons in this scene must be from the same location or town that Elisa's gym is in. And I have you could see, here's Elisa's sparkle to kind of get an idea of what I mean. Another card I got is Jashin. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce her name.
Jacinth.
Jason.
Jason.
I try to pronounce it the same way the gemstone is, Jashin. At least that's how it's pronounced in British English, if I'm saying it correctly. The French pronunciation might be different. Although, is her name Jashin in French? Anyway, her name is Yukari in Japanese. This is a scene from Hotel Rishime. And again, another SAR. And I got this card just because, as I like with Rose, I wanted to get a clean copy now rather than, I think in a few months it's going to be harder to find clean copies of Japanese SARs because I looked up a few on eBay and I don't find too many good copies anymore. Everything seems to be graded, which is weird because PSA is increasing their prices on grading. Ace is about £12 to grade. I don't really know, but grading isn't that cheap, but yet so many cards are still being sent out for grading. Jashin, she seems to be I don't want to say unpopular character, but not as popular as Rosa, obviously. Although I find it's kind of a coincidence like Iris that her theme song is pretty popular. Another card I got is of Jashin. That's her normal full art, the secret rare. I got this card for about £7, including shipping. And what is weird is, speaking about grading, I actually saw Ace 10 of this card sell recently on auction. The person obviously didn't make their money back grading. When you consider it's about £10 a grade, and when you add all the shipping and so forth, it's going to be more than what they made, especially when you take out the eBay fees, which I know people grade cards just because they like them and not necessarily because of the value, but I find it's a bit like how sustainable is that? Because it was for sale, whoever graded that card was selling it. It's not as if they're putting it in their collection. And that's one thing I find with grading, that even though you would think some of these cards, it doesn't make sense financially to be grading all of them, they're still being graded in droves. I looked it up on Ace, and I think it's true for most of these grading companies that there's a kind of a limit of, there's a minimum amount of cards you could get graded, which is probably why a card, again, like this is being graded, even though it's pretty cheap already. And it's a case of like, maybe they're primarily sending off cards like these with a bit higher value, and then they sent off something lower value just to make up their minimum grading amount. Which, for me, who's someone that generally likes to just get ungraded cards, it makes it a bit harder to find anything raw just because so much is being sent off for grading. And one thing is that you would say, why not just buy the like played copies for cheaper? But I find with these ultra modern cards, there are so many out there that I'd rather just get their near mint copies rather than the like played ones. Cause I find the discounts on the like played, anything like played, isn't that much. And also it kind of, I'm not really that concerned with future value, but it does in a way future proof my collection if I'm going after near mint copies, where down the line, if anything, I would just sell to the person that plans to grade. But time will tell how much this grading frenzy could last. Is that a dent? I'm looking off camera. No, that's a fingerprint. I must have been, probably didn't wash my hands when I took it out. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just rambling, but yeah, I find it going forward, it's better to wait maybe just a month or two when there's a lot of supply on the market for cards, rather than hoping to get them rock bottom, because at that point, at the rock bottom price, so much is graded, I'm going to have to pay more for a near mint copy. Was there something else I wanted to say? Not really. So that's all for this video, and thanks for watching.